here with Zenith Home Loans. I hope you're doing wonderful. I am here today for our TCA Tuesday, Total Cost Analysis Tuesday. I have missed the last couple of weeks. I apologize for that. Hopefully you guys didn't miss me too much. I had a very sick kiddo and we were at Children's Hospital and he's completely fine. And the nurses and staff there were absolutely phenomenal. So if you do end up having to, hopefully you don't ever have to, but if you do end up having to take your kids to Children's, it's just a really great facility and I'm just very appreciative of all of the nurses there. So, and I actually have a client who works there and she happened to be in the emergency room. So it was nice to see a friendly face when we were going through all that. But anyways, today what we want to talk about, it's been a topic of discussion just across the board, especially in my world, and definitely on in media as far as inflation and recessions, and just what interest rates are doing. They are moving at the fastest rate that I've personally ever seen in almost 15 years. And it's to the point where something that we might quote as scenario or interest rates last week is no longer available the following week. So it's been incredibly difficult to predict. So what I thought might be helpful for us today is to see what interest rates are doing today in a given loan profile. So I set up just something pretty generic, just 10% down, purchase price of 550, nothing crazy over the top, and just kind of an example of where rates were several months ago. So end of 2021, where they are today, if you were to lock in today based on this particular criteria, and where we think they could be going. I don't have a good answer for where we think they might be going, but we're just going to take a look at some scenarios just so you guys have an idea of kind of what this is doing. And this is absolutely not meant to scare any of you. I'm going to share my screen with you. But just to maybe create a little bit of urgency, because I know there's a lot of conversation around, hey, I'm going to wait until the market settles down. Is there going to be a crash? Are we in a bubble? The reality is no, there's not going to be a crash. And no, we're not in a bubble. And the reason for that is when the market crashed in 07 and 08, which happens to be right when I got into the market, great timing, right? We were doing a lot of bad loans. People were getting financing that had no business getting financed. People were fraudulently generating documentation. People weren't putting down payments. So we were doing we call them 80-20 loans. So you're doing an 80% first and a 20% second and never putting any of your own money into the transaction. You're doing interest only loans, ARMs with high adjustabilities and things like that. And when there was also a surplus of homes available. That's not what's happening now. Lending restrictions have tightened quite a bit. Guidelines have tightened quite a bit. Even during COVID, we tightened them even more. They've started to ease up quite a bit. So that's helpful, obviously, but there's still a lot of hoops that have to be jumped through in order to qualify for a loan. There's also a huge shortage of housing in the area, and because for a variety of reasons. One is we're just not building new homes fast enough, and two, people are scared to list their homes because they need to find the next one. So and now we've got this new thing coming into play with interest rates and kind of what they're doing and what that's creating. So you can see where they were, 3%, 550 purchase price, interest rate 3%, end of last year, monthly payment 2556. Cool. Where they are today, we're at 5.375. That jumps our payment up to 3240. So pretty big jump, but not terrible over the 3%. And where they're going, if I think rates are going to continue to go up, they're going to keep going up until they start to come back down. When we just don't know right now. We've got a couple things working against us in that particular scenario, but if rates were to go to 6, that's going to take that payment that was $2,500 and take us up to $3,400, which is an $880 per month payment increase. And so not only do we have higher interest, but now we have a monthly payment that is going to push some people out of their qualifying capabilities. So the reason why this is happening is because we've got inflation, which is the arch nemesis of mortgage interest rates. Is always going to cause rates to go up. And then we've got the Fed's involvement. So the Fed had stepped in at one point and were buying a lot of mortgage-backed securities, which is causing interest rates to go down. And they've tapered that off significantly. And it does kind of manipulate the market in that case. And what that's now created is because they keep having these conversations about tapering off what they're going to buy, rates are starting to go back up again. So we are starting to see recession alarms are starting to alarm. And that's really an economic recession. So we're going to start seeing things, you're probably already seeing it at the cash register as far as things are just costing more money because it's harder for us to get, or there's low supply. And that's just kind of what happens. As far as supply is concerned, it's just, there's a lot of homes that are hitting the market, but there's a lot of homes that are getting under contract right away. I think there was 550 homes that hit the market last Thursday. The majority of those went under contract. So we are seeing an improvement in properties getting listed. And the benefit to those who are looking and actively making offers on properties is you're probably going to see things cool down or slow down a little bit. It may start to taper off as far as these big jumps that we're seeing in purchase prices, because we're getting into a threshold with the interest rates that people are going to no longer be able to qualify in certain price points anymore, or start getting scared. And this isn't meant, like I said, this is not meant to scare you by any means. This is close to where rates were when I got into the business. We were actually closer to 8%. So these numbers still don't scare me. I don't want them to scare you. You just need to be an informed consumer, and make sure that you understand what's going on. And if you're a real estate agent looking at this, is just making sure that your clients understand, okay, if rates go up, do we still qualify? And that's a really important part of the pre-approval process now, is knowing, okay, at 5.375, we still qualify. 5.5, we're good. 5.75, we're encroaching on a number that's no longer comfortable or no longer qualifiable. And so we just need to know what our parameters need to be. And then we just keep working. It was the same thing that we did when rates were 2.875. It just, we're at different parameters, and they're a little bit tighter now than they were before. Silver lining, if you care to see it, mortgage interest is tax deductible. You're paying more mortgage interest, so you'll have more to write off. I don't know. It just depends on how you choose to see that. The reality is we do think rates are going to start to come back down at some point. So there is definitely going to be some refinance opportunities. I don't think we'll see anything in the low twos again. I think that ship has sailed probably, but anything's possible. So I hope this is helpful information. Again, this is not meant to scare you. This is just to let you know what's going on, kind of cut out all the BS that you're going to see in the media, and some of the scare tactics. That's not what I'm about. I'm about education. And I just want you to see the real numbers and what these numbers really translate into. So hopefully this is helpful. If you have questions, let me know. I hope you have a really great day. And thanks for hanging out with me.